If I type into Amazon the words girl power, the first two things that are going to pop up are a t-shirt and a pair of socks. What's the Jewish definition of girl power? If I wanted to find that out, I'm going to look at what we refer to as the 3 women's mitzvot. Now, what are the 3 women's mitzvot? Taking challah, lighting Shabbat candles, and the practice of mikvah. Now, you and I both know that there are hundreds of mitzvot. There are hundreds of directives from Hashem, pathways to connect with Him. We don't just have 3. So what is it about these 3? And why are these 3 referred to as women's mitzvot? Especially since taking challah and lighting Shabbat candles, a man can do those as well. The difference is that if there is both a man and a woman in a home, and they're both capable, then this mitzvah defers to the woman. In other words, if there are 2 people that can do it, both male and female, then it's preferable that the woman light the Shabbat candles. It's preferable that the woman be the one to take that piece of dough and set it aside. And of course, the Mitzvah of Mikvah can only be done by the Jewish woman. So it's not that a man can't do it, but it defers to the Jewish woman. Why is that? And perhaps if we understand that, then we can really understand the true definition of girl power. The Talmud tells us that the wisdom of the woman lies in the spinning shaft. Now, at first glance, I might take offense to that. And what do you think? I'm only good at knitting or sewing or knowing how to use a loom? I don't even know how to use a weaving loom, do you? So what does that mean? The wisdom of the woman lies in the spinning shaft. So one of the commentators, Rabbi Schwab, he says a beautiful thing. He explains the wisdom of the woman lies in the realm of connection. A woman has a power. There's a feminine power of connection. Now let's go back a bit. What is a Jew's job in this world? And who are we anyway? I am a soul that is encased in a body. And throughout my life, I have that dichotomy, if you will, body and soul, that mixture, that combination of physical and spiritual. And that is precisely a Jew's job in this world. And that is to look around us, to take all the materialism, all the beauty in the world, take it and elevate it. Take it a notch up. Take the ordinary and attach it to the extraordinary. That is the job of a Jew. And specifically, this job taps in to the strength of the Jewish woman. We as women are actually really good at this. We're really good at taking something physical and elevating it, giving it meaning and purpose, and elevating it to a spiritual level. So let's go through these 3 mitzvot, and we'll show how they actually tap in to this power of connection that we women naturally have, and we want to cultivate even more. Challah. So what is the mitzvah of challah? So we know that we take flour, which represents the physical, right? Earth, wheat, and water, which always represents the spiritual. Water, because it's constantly moving and it takes shape or form to what you put it into. And that represents spirituality, flowing energy. Person cannot survive without water. So we take these 2 different realities, physical flour, water, which represents spirituality, and we combine them together into one. Combination, connection. making challah, making dough, symbolizes connecting heaven and earth. That's our job in this world. And then we actually take a piece of the dough after it's risen and we're about to shape it. We stop, and if it's a certain amount of flour, then we can actually make a blessing. We take a piece of dough, we make a blessing about a golf ball size, and then we lift it up and we say, Harei zu challah. Behold, this is challah. Now, if I asked you, what is challah? You might say, challah is bread. But the truth is, it's a trick question, because the word challah does not mean bread. For those of us who know Hebrew, how do you say bread in Hebrew? Lechem. Oh, I know, I just confused you. So what is challah? Challah is the concept of taking something that is chol, chet, lamed. Okay, the way we spell challah is 3 letters, chet, lamed, hey. The first 2 letters, chol, mean ordinary, mundane, secular. It also means sand, right? Very ordinary, very physical. Taking the physical, taking the ordinary, taking the dough, and adding a hay. Hay always represents the feminine energy and spirituality. So we're taking this ordinary, this mundane, we're attaching it to hay, which is extraordinary, which is spirituality, meaning, purpose, eternity. We're taking the finite and the infinite, and we're combining them together. So we're taking something, bread, the basic necessity of human life, and we're saying, wait a minute. We're going to elevate it. How? By giving it meaning and purpose. By saying, wait, what is the source of this bread? How did it get to my table? How is it here? I think I made it. I think I worked so hard. Where did it come from? Oh, right. It came from Hashem. I connect it back to its source. I'll never forget where it came from. And that is the secret, not only to a Jew's job in this world, but to avoiding burnout in life. How many of us start out so excited, whether it's having our first child and we're so excited and we're all prepped and hyped up for parenting. Yes, I'm ready. And then 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, for sure when they become teenagers, you're like, why did I get into this? It's really difficult. When we first get married, it's so exciting. We first take a new job, it's so exciting. What happens a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later? Burnout can set in. So what is the secret? How do we avoid burnout in life? And we learn this through all of the women's mitzvot, actually. If you want to avoid burnout in life, never stop connecting to the whys, to the reason you are doing this in the first place. And how do you do that? Connect it to its source. And if you think about a flame, any which way you move the candle, the flame always pulls itself above, towards its source. So when we want to stay aflame, we constantly remember, wait a minute, why did I choose this? What am I doing? What is it all about? And then we'll never be burnt out. Think about some of the people you know that seem to have endless energy, right? And they're positive and they're excited and they're just doing. How do they do it? Those are most often the people that really know why they're doing what they're doing. They're connected to their mission in life. And if you never stop being connected to your mission, then you avoid burnout. So if we take this example of challah, that we're baking the bread, right? We're doing something ordinary and mundane, seemingly. But we're remembering, oh right, who butters our bread? Who gives us our sustenance? Oh right, Hashem does. Everything comes from my Maker. If I'm supposed to have it, I have it. If I'm not supposed to have it, I don't have it. And it allows you to re-energize yourself. And this is a symbol not just for challah, but for everything that we do, especially as women, that can seem so mundane, like laundry, like making dinner. Didn't I do that last night? And the night before that, and the night before that? That laundry, wait, didn't I just do the laundry 3 days ago? It seems to just regenerate itself, right? What happened? Why am I doing this again and again and again? That's really hard to avoid burnout, especially with those kind of jobs, like dishes and laundry and carpools and appointments and all of the things that we do to keep our households running. But if we stop and we attach those things to their source, we give them meaning, we give them purpose, we elevate them, and we recognize, wow, what am I doing? Every single time I fold an undershirt, every single time I take my son to the doctor, every single time I do carpool, I'm actually doing a mitzvah. That's right. I'm connecting to godliness. I am actually being godlike because he is a giver and I am a giver. And I'm doing chesed, kindness, for my family. Kindness doesn't mean only, raising money for an organization or doing something grand outside of the home. There's a statement that we all know, chesed begins in the home, but it's not just a cliche. It's real. And challah is where it starts, where we teach ourselves that the most ordinary, the most mundane of actions actually contain something so special, so extraordinary, when we connect them to something eternal, to something infinite. So anything that a Jew does in his life, anything, whether it's going on vacation, sitting down and playing a board game with your children, going on a walk, anything can turn into something extraordinary, something that will last forever when it's given meaning and purpose. That is a special gift that we have as women. And let's take it a step further. When we shape the challah, we make it in a braid. The most common is 6 braids, 6 strands, and we braid it in a special way. It looks like a beautiful loaf to put on our Shabbat table. Now, I always say in my challah baking classes, a braid is not just an interesting technique that we picked up on MasterChef. There's something more to the braid. A braid takes very separate strands and connects them together into one beautiful, united form. Think about, back to the statement in the Talmud, the wisdom of the woman lies in the spinning shaft. What is a weaving loom? What does the loom do? It takes different fabrics, different colors, different textures, and it weaves them together into a beautiful pattern, a beautiful tapestry. It makes something magnificent. But that's an art. It's really an art. And it needs the gift that we have, the gift of connection. Think about a woman's role or the mother's role in her family. I always think about my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law has, 12 children. Each one of them very different. Each one of us living in a different city, in different countries, Israel, America, all over the place. And in such a large family, it's hard to keep in touch. It's hard to keep up on the news with who's, making a bar mitzvah and who's having a baby and who's got a new job and who's moving. And my mother-in-law I like to call Grand Central Station, right? We all call my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law gives us each the news about everybody else in the family. She's the single connector, right? She's literally that Grand Central Station that all the trains come through her. That's the power of a connector. That's the weaving loom. That's the one that can take the different personalities in her family, and think of all of us, because anyone here who has more than one child knows that every single child is so different. Each one of them comes pre-programmed with their own personality and their own style and their own tastes and their own way. She takes all these different personalities in her home, her husband, her children, herself, and she weaves them together. She braids them together into one unit called a family. That's our power. That's the power of the Jewish woman. We're connectors, right? We walk into a room, we see different types of people, and we right away will find the thing that we have in common, even if it seems very far-fetched. Oh, you speak English? So do I. You wear shoes? So do I. We find the connections. And I want to tell you something. We have more in common than we have differences. But you have to see it. You have to highlight it. You have to focus on it. You have to want to bring it to the forefront. And that is the power of the woman. We should use that power. Never stop using it for connection, because that's what it's all about. Connection, connection, connection. Do you know that that's the basic, most essential need of every human being is connection? So challah, connecting the physical and the spiritual, the two worlds, connecting to the source, and connecting our families. And we think about the 6 braids. We think about the 6 days of the week, seemingly disconnected, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, running around, doing all the different things that we do. Come Shabbat, the 6 days of the week, braided into one common theme. They all led to one goal, and that was Shabbos. Shabbos is the destination. The 6 days of the week, the journey. And that's what links all of those days of the week together. They weren't random. They all connect through the highlight of the week, which we call Shabbos or Shabbat. And that gives them the common denominator, that they were the whole time we were working towards one goal. That is Shabbos. And that brings us to women's mitzvah number 2, candle lighting. Who is the one that is in charge of ushering the spirituality into the home? Preferably the woman. The woman is the one that, with her hands in that motion of waving over the candles 3 times, as the custom is, to usher in the spiritual element, the spiritual dimension into her home. That is Shabbos. And how do we do that? By taking 2 candles, separate candles, and lighting those separate candles. And if you look at the whole 25 hours of Shabbat and how it looks at the beginning and how it looks at the end, we can see the purpose of Shabbos. And that is to connect. There we go again. The purpose of a Jew, the feminine power, connection. We start out with 2 separate candles, and we end off also with a candle that's called the Havdalah candle. And we know that the Havdalah candle has to be braided. It has to be twisted together. So we start off at the beginning, ushering in the Shabbat as kind of 2 separate individuals. And those 2 candles stand for these ideas: heaven and earth, body and soul, right? Ordinary and extraordinary. Different people in my home, husband and wife, 2 different entities. And then, if we use it correctly, if we use the Shabbat to connect, both to ourselves, to our Maker, and to each other, and take all the materialism that we have, all the goodies, right? Whether it be nature by taking a walk, whether it be our beds by taking a nap, whether it be our cocoa by making chocolate cake or brisket or whatever delicacies we have, our nice clothes, our nice dishes. We take all of the beautiful pleasures of this world and we use them for a higher purpose. We say, thank you, Hashem. You're the source of everything. You created all of this. Thank you so much. We connect those ideas as well, the material and the physical. And then at the end of Shabbat, we can now make Havdalah on the twisted candle because we are so connected to everything around us. Then we know we have reached that goal of Shabbat. And again, who is the one that is primarily responsible for this because she's good at it? There we go again, the Jewish woman. And that's why the Shabbat is ushered in, it's brought in through her. The second she lights those Shabbos candles, no matter what time it is, even if it's 10 minutes early, Shabbat has entered her home. That's our power. Because we've brought it in, we've connected those two worlds once again. And it's the woman who brings in Shabbos by lighting the candles, because again, where we're at is where everybody's at. We create that aura. We create that energy in our homes. You know, whether you like it or not. If you're in a bad mood, that kind of projects outward to everybody. If we're in a good mood, if mommy is singing, if mommy is happy, if mommy is positive, then it uplifts the atmosphere and the environment. The most powerful influence in anyone's life is their mother. Like it or not, your mother is the most powerful influence in your life, for better or for worse. Let's hope that we make it for the better. And with fire, we light candles. Again, why fire? Because when we connect to the whys of what we do, when we connect to the purpose of everything, we will not get burnt out. We will stay aflame. And that brings us to the third woman's mitzvah. And this is the only one that, try as they might, a man cannot do, only a woman. And that is the Mitzvah of Mikvah. We are completely in charge of this one. The Mitzvah of Mikvah is all about connection. Reconnecting to the most important person in our lives, reconnecting to the better part of ourselves, and reconnecting to our Maker. It puts ourselves, it puts our marriage back on the front burner of our lives, which is so important. Mikvah is the fifth step in a 5-step process, where a couple experiences 12 or 13 days where they restrain from intimate physical touch, and then after going through this 5-step process, the last step being immersion in a kosher mikvah, the woman comes home and the couple reunites physically with one another. They're able to reconnect once again. Often, when we have something, we take it for granted, right? He'll always be there. She'll always be there for me. That's very often, there's so much going on in our lives, and we kind of feel like, well, my husband can wait. Or my wife, she can wait. I have this new business venture. I have so much to take care of. But what is that message? What are we sending to the most important person in our lives, our spouse? So the Mitzvah of Mikvah says, there's no he'll always be there for me, she'll always be there for me. It takes that idea and it forces you to set aside time for one another, to say, no. I've got to appreciate and I have to be appreciated. It brings newness and freshness to our marriage. I remember there was a woman after I took her on the trip to Israel with me, and we visited the beautiful mikvah in Israel. And a lot of the women said, wow, Rochel, I never knew about this. I want to try that. Can I go? I said, sure. When we get back to America, we'll learn all the 5 steps and you can access this. It's your gift as much as it is mine. So I remember one specific woman, her name was Nancy, and we get back and we learn together. And she said, I don't know. My husband is pretty uncomfortable with this. I don't know if he's going to go for it. I said, you know what? Let's try it. It's 12 days. Try it. It's your gift. And you'll see what he thinks at the end of the 12, 13 days. So sure enough, he said, okay, I'll put up with it for 12 days. And they went through this process. And she comes home from the mikvah. And as they're embracing one another, he says to her, wow, could we do this again? Right? Because sometimes just not having something makes us realize, oh, wow, I am so fortunate that I have this person in my life, that I have this relationship in my life. Right? We all know that when our children leave us, let's say they go learn abroad or they go to university, and then they come home, right? It's really, really nice, at least for the first week, right? And it's the same thing. When we have this cycle, when a couple goes through this cycle of on and off and on, we appreciate the ons because of the offs. We feel more connected because of the separation. And the goal of the separation is the connection. We want to have a stronger connection, a higher connection, a more meaningful connection, a more passionate connection. And the separation helps us achieve that connection. Just like we have the 6 days of the week, which come before Shabbat, so too we have the days that the couple separates physically in order to have an even more passionate connection when she comes home from the mikvah. It also connects us to ourselves. It is so empowering to have this space that we need and we desire as women without any guilt. Not only do we not have guilt, this is the right thing to do, right? Our Creator said, this is what you should do. This is your prescription for a passionate married life. So this way we get the space guilt-free. And it really teaches us, because sometimes as women, we can be martyrs. We can forget about ourselves. We can put ourselves last on the list. And everybody else in our family comes first. And the Torah tells us, wait a minute. In order to create a we, there needs to be a me. And when you have two strong me's, then you could get to a very strong we. So don't forget about me. And when we have 12 or 13 days, when we nurture ourselves, of course, we also nurture the emotional side of our relationship, which is extremely important to nurture, the friendship part of our relationship, but we also nurture ourselves physically. And it's interesting because the fourth step of mikvah is preparation in a bath, where we stop, we take 45 minutes or so, and we sit in a warm bubble bath, and we cleanse ourselves both physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and psychologically. Kind of get to know ourselves. We embrace ourselves. And we get to know ourselves as Jewish women, as powerful individuals. We strip ourselves of the facade of who we think we need to present to the world. And we go back to the real me. Who am I? And we say, hey, I like this person. And we embrace this person. And we sit with ourselves. And we enjoy that. It's forced relaxation. At least once a month, Hashem says, stop, relax, sit in a warm bath, take care of yourself, nurture yourself, be with yourself, enjoy yourself. And then, and only then, do we then go to the mikveh building and we walk into the waters of the mikveh, which feel like and look like a spa. But really what those mikveh waters are, is they actually represent the Shekhinah, the divine presence. A mikveh has to be built in a very special, unique way, where waters are gathered from above. They flow directly from above, from rain, or from a natural spring below. They're known as what we call mayim chayim, living waters. And they don't sit in a barrel or in a container. They go directly from the source into the mikveh itself. And they allow us to connect directly back to our source. Again, remember the secret to avoid burnout. Connect back to the source. When we walk into the waters of a mikvah, and by the way, there are only 2 mitzvot that we do with our entire beings. One of them is the mitzvah of sukkah, which you may be familiar with. That happens in October time, in the fall, where we walk in to this beautiful little hut, this humble little hut that we built, which is like getting a hug from the Almighty. And the second one is the Mitzvah of Mikvah, which only the Jewish woman could do, where she walks down the stairs, 7 steps, representing the 7 revolutions of the earth, representing nature. She goes 1 step beyond nature. She walks into the waters of the mikvah and gets a giant bear hug from God. And we don't want anything to come in between me and that hug, that ultimate connection. And that's why we prepare for this encounter, by removing anything that might come between me and the waters, me and that big giant hug. And when we do that, we say, you know what? What's blocking me? What's coming in the way of me really being connected, both to myself, to my Creator, and to my husband? Is it my lack of self-esteem, my doubt in myself? Is it my laziness? Is it my impatience? Is it my lack of knowledge? What is it? What is it that's getting in the way? Is it worry, anxiety? Well, whatever it is, you know what? I can shed that. And as I take that shower before I step into the waters of the mikvah and watch all that water go down the drain, I can think all of that worry, ego, laziness, impatience, self-doubt, whatever it is, and it's unique to every one of us, that might be getting in the way, that's all going down the drain. It doesn't have to be there. I don't have to carry that around. I could strip that away. And when I walk into the waters of the mikvah, I'm connecting to the real me. I always say the mikvah is the bridge between the me now, who I think I am, and the ideal me, the me that I could really be, if I wanted to. It's there. It's accessible. It's possible. Anything is possible. So I go from embracing myself, I walk into the waters of the mikvah and I embrace my Creator. And when I come home from the mikvah, then I'm ready to embrace my husband. In that order. First I have to know the power of me. Once I know the power of me, then I can connect in a more real way to my Creator. And when I connect with my Creator and myself, then I can have the ultimate connection with my husband. That is the power of the mikvah. When I come out of that mikvah every month, I'm not the same old Rochel I was when I went in. I'm a new and improved version. And anything becomes possible. That is the power of renewal. That is the power of the Jewish people. It's been the secret of our survival throughout the generations. That is the power of renewal. The very first mitzvah that the Jewish people received as a nation was the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh, of the new moon, the new month. Proclaiming the new moon, which brings us the new month, which the idea is we can start again. Even if we don't like what we did last week, we don't like how we've been behaving, we don't like how our interactions have been going, I haven't really been the way I wanted to be, I'm not the mother I want to be, I'm not the wife I want to be, I'm not the employee I want to be, whatever, I'm not the Jew I want to be. It's okay. You can start again. And the most concentrated form of this is mikvah. I always say Christopher Reeve had his phone booth and I have the mikvah. And every Jewish woman has the mikvah. You know, throughout the generations, people have tried to destroy us, time and time again. And I always say the Jewish people are like those weeble wobbles. They try to knock us down, we pop back up. They try to knock us down, we pop back up. Every single nation has tried to destroy us. And somehow we're still here. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't have to. Because, like we said earlier, we're dealing with the spiritual realm. In the spiritual realm, we're above nature. It doesn't have to make sense. And that is mikvah. Mikvah is you're entering into a spiritual reality. And again, it's done with water. When we look at a river, we look at an ocean. What color is it? You ask any child. They're making a painting or a picture. What color are they going to make the water? Blue. And yet, if I took a cup and I filled it with ocean water or water from the river, what color is the water? Clear. So why is it blue? Ask your child. Why does it look blue? And we know it's because it's a reflection. The sun reflects on the water and it looks like it reflects off the sky and it looks blue, even though it's clear. Now this is to teach us something very powerful. Everything that we see in this world on a physical level represents a spiritual reality. That is the message Hashem is trying to show us. That everything that you see here gives you insight into a spiritual reality, into something more. There's a whole dimension that's beyond, that we know exists, and that's how we know it exists. And mikvah, again, with water, done with water. So when I come out of that mikvah, anything at all is possible. The word mikvah, just like it rhymes with the word tikva, which you might be familiar with, ha-tikva, right? Tikva means hope, and it comes from the same root, which is the two Hebrew letters kuf vav, which means kav. Kav means a direction. I always say you can handle almost anything you're presented in life as long as you have a clear direction of how to handle it. That's why sometimes getting a diagnosis is way better than not having one. Because at least we know now, okay, what is the protocol? What do we do? How do we handle it? What is the treatment for this? It gives us a kav, it gives us a direction, and a direction gives us tikva, hope. And of course, in the mikvah, what's the kav? What's the channel? The channel is, I have a direct relationship with Hashem. I have a direct channel to God. I use the mikvah as an opportunity to pray for anything that I want, anything that I could want to ask for. I have an open one-on-one communication with God. It's a tremendous, tremendous opportunity. And because I am a Jew, because I do not conform to the laws of nature, I reconnect with that idea. And when I walk out of the mikvah, I know, hey, even if I don't like how I talked to my husband last month, that's okay. I can do it again. I'm a new and improved version of myself, and my entire marriage has an uplift. It's like getting a spiritual facelift every single time I come out of the mikvah. That is the gift. That is the gift of mikvah. Given, of course, to the Jewish woman. The most powerful gift given to the Jewish woman, because she has this natural gift and this natural knack to take those opportunities, the opportunities that exist in challah, the opportunities that exist in candlelighting, the opportunities that exist in Shabbat, the opportunities that exist in the mikvah, and use those opportunities for connection and connection and connection. Use those opportunities to connect to a higher self, to a higher purpose, to meaning, to taking anything that looks ordinary and making it absolutely extraordinary. And isn't it interesting that as Corona spread and almost every one of our Jewish institutions unfortunately had to close, our synagogues, our shuls, our schools, our Jewish community centers, all of the places that we used to gather closed down. But guess what? None of the women's mitzvot closed down. They're all alive and well. The mikvahs are the only public institution that did not close. They are alive and well because the secret of Jewish continuity is in every one of these 3 mitzvot. And that was entrusted to us, the Jewish women. And we can't close it down. And we can't close down the most important Jewish institution, and that is the home. And we are in charge of the most important Jewish institution. And without the Jewish home, and without these pathways of connection, the Jewish community cannot survive, let alone thrive. So I give you all a blessing that you all are able to start tapping in to this girl power, to the real girl power that's most potently expressed through the 3 mitzvot that defer to the Jewish woman. Let's use this power that we have, the power to connect to all things that we do with a higher purpose, and we will be re-energized and realize, hey, even without the t-shirt, even without the socks, we are truly Wonder Women.